Hey, Danny.
Hey, how are you?
Good, sir.
I should have brought coffee, Tom.
Jamie, we good?
We are good. I think it's 30 seconds. Hopefully Mr. Fatia is ready to record us now. I'm going to call to order the January 12, 2021 meeting of the St. Joseph County Redevelopment Commission. The first item on the agenda is the administration of oath and election of officers. I do under via separate email this morning, the oath of offices. If you could just sign those and return them to me sometime this week, that would be great. And I'll record them with the clerk's office as we usually do. But if you would, please raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm.
I do solemnly swear.
Solemnly swear and affirm.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the
Constitution of the United States.
Of America.
Of
of
America.
America.
And the Constitution of the State of Indiana.
And the Constitution of the State of Indiana.
Constitution of the State of Indiana.
And will faithfully.
Impartially.
Impartially.
And lawfully. Carry out my duties. As a member of. The St. Joseph County Redevelopment Commission.
The St. Joseph
County Redevelopment Commission.
Thank you very much. The next item on your agenda is the election of officers. Do I have any nominations for the office of President of the St. Joseph County Redevelopment Commission?
I'll nominate Brian Pulowski.
Thank you, Dennis.
We have a nomination and a second for Mr. Pulowski to serve as president. Are there any nominations to come before the commission this morning? Seeing none, nominations will cease. And at this time, is there a motion to appoint Brian Pulowski as president of the Redevelopment Commission?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Pulowski, you're president. So I will turn the meeting over to you at this moment in time.
At least I had a little prep this time around, unlike last year when Jessica, just kind of said, here you go. Okay, second item is the approval of minutes from the special meeting from December 4.
I think we have a couple more officers we need to appoint here.
Oh, sorry.
A vice president and secretary of the board.
Oh, I thought you were going to take care of that, Jamie. My fault. I'm kidding. So VP, do I have any nominations for the vice presidency of the Redevelopment Commission this morning?
I will nominate Dennis Jordan.
Ooh.
Do I have a second?
I'll do it.
I will second Dennis Jordan as a VP. Sorry. Are there any other nominations this morning? I don't think that's a nomination. Hearing none, would someone like to make the motion for Dennis Jordan to be the vice president?
So moved.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, maybe.
Aye. Any opposed? And seeing none. Dennis, congratulations. Sorry, hold on. I'm having a delay. Can you guys hear me still?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Secretary, is that next, Jamie?
Yes, sir.
Do we have any nominations for Secretary of the Redevelopment Commission this morning?
I think Jessica would do a wonderful job.
I would second that. Do I have any other nominations? Seeing none, do I have a motion for Miss Jessica to be the Secretary of the Redevelopment Commission?
I'll make the motion.
And I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Congratulations, Miss Jessica. Jamie,
That's it for the election of officers. You may move on to approval of minutes number
making
2.
sure I didn't forget anybody. Okay. Now on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the special meeting on December 4th. Folks had a chance to review those. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So
I'll
moved.
make a motion to approve.
Okay. I will second.
Dennis first, Jessica second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you. Number 3, economic development area updates. Mr.
So-
Shalio.
Yep. So in your packet are the December monthly reports for each of the different funds. These cover, as they always do, all the expenses and any of the receipts that were brought in during that period of time. I would note that I believe, Jessica can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the increment disbursement is included in these reports. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Bill, in your opinion, is there anything material that you would like to point out to the commission in these
As
reports?
far as the December reports, no, we basically have spent as we usually do. It's all of the general numbers are as they generally are. I would note though, when we talk about the budget side of things, we'll talk a little bit about the increment disbursement, and Steve can help a little bit in that conversation. That would maybe be the only thing that would be a little different is this is one of the 2 months of the year, in this case, I think 3 months of the year that we actually had income coming in. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So we could just move to that item on the agenda. You don't need any approval for this, Bill? Or
Nope, just
Okay.
that
Information
the monthly report's accepted. So I guess as far as a conversation about the 2021 budget, last month we had submitted a general budget of where we thought we were going to be. We did receive late in the year the disbursement information for TIF. As noted in the report, we put in a narrative this year trying to, I guess, dually do 2 things. One, serve as an overview of all the information about the TIF budget, but then also serve as a little bit of a work plan for 2021. I would note, though, that all of the TIF districts came in with increment higher than projected, except for the AM General Capitol Avenue TIF district. And that was simply because of failure to pay property taxes by one of the largest increment generators in the district. That has been corrected. We are working to verify that that the payment has been made, as well as a penalty payment. And I don't know that we've received notice yet if the penalty payment's been made. That increment that was lost will be picked up in the June disbursement. So it's not lost revenue, it's short-term lost revenue, but that then caused us to make some changes in the AM General Capitol Avenue budget. So there are some differences in that one as far as we move forward. As far as the 2020 is put together an overview of the main projects in each of the districts. I would note that we did put the comprehensive plan, talked about that in this year. So there is information about plan to the budget.
Breaking up there, Bill.
Reports will be spread around district and then the Wyatt district.
Bill, can you back up about 15 seconds?
I think I'm lagging a little bit here.
Frozen.
Yeah.
Am I back in yet? I apologize.
There you go. Just back up about 15, 20 seconds.
Okay. I apologize about that. Somebody was running a microwave upstairs and it slows the signal down. We'll have a conversation with people about that. So no, so the budget report again, the comp plan is listed in here. That's one of the new things too since the report last month. We spread that across 3 different TIF districts for payment, but everything else is pretty much as we described last month. I would note, we do have money in here that we're paying on a bond for the double track project. I assume all of you saw the news that the federal government has fully funded the double track project. So that's our money now is mixed in with all the federal money and state money to pay for that project. So there's a lot of exciting pieces. Again, we would anticipate that revenue would continue to climb in each of the TIF districts as we continue to do economic development projects to move forward the budgets. And this gives us at least a starting point. I would also note too, that if we compare our TIF districts to City of South Bend or City of Mishawaka TIF districts, it's amazing how much we do for as little revenue as we collect. Compared to some of the other districts, but I would say that we're continuing to work to make healthier TIF districts as we go forward, and just appreciate your support on this year's budget.
Bill, going back to the AM General, will the lack of or the delay in collections affect the timing of any expenditures for that particular project?
No, we had, because we had cash reserves, because we hadn't done a couple of the projects, we don't really fall into a spot where we can't fund anything. If we were to not fund something immediately, it might be some of the infrastructure improvements related to either the Twin Branch Industrial Park or some pavement improvements that need to be done on McKinley. But everything else, we have cash on hand because projects didn't move as quickly as they could have in 2020. I hate to use the COVID delay as an excuse for why we didn't spend as much money, but it really did slow some projects down. And so that allowed us to have revenue balance with project needs.
I don't know about the rest of my fellow commissioners there, but it would be helpful to me, especially with the New Carlisle projects, if you could talk about in particular what the budget is for 21 versus what it was for 20, and what the differences are between the two. I don't know if you plan on going through that project by project, but at least for those are the ones I'm particularly interested in.
Bill, I can chime in a little bit, give some general comments to that. A couple of the projects that we budgeted in 2020, we carried over into 2021's budget because they were not completed. Mostly related to, if you're looking at the budgets, I'd say that the infrastructure and the water projects themselves, we've been having a lot of correspondence with the town of New Carlisle regarding the existing water treatment plant and what is going to need to be done to that. We had budgeted funds in 2020 to address some of that need, but that didn't occur yet. So it basically carried over into the 2021 budget.
And just get real quick, specific to the water treatment plant, which is owned by the town in New Carlisle, but obviously services the industrial area as well as the town, is in need of a replacement. Not originally, it was planned for an upgrade, so we had put smaller amounts. An upgrade was more in the liking, and participation in that made sense. But it really looks like replacement and new site, new plant is really going to be the direction of that project. So we have put infrastructure in a couple of places in the New Carlisle budget to cover that. The town originally had projected that they were going to start doing bonding and public discussion about that project in 2020. But again, they got delayed a little bit. Part of the challenge too was the change in ownership of Iron Tech, Iron Coat with a new ownership group and partnership group coming in, Cleveland Cliffs that bought ArcelorMittal. That may change some of the complexion of how Iron Tech, Iron Coat gets involved, because the new ownership group looks to expand the service offerings at Iron Tech. So that may increase water needs, which may increase their participation in the project. So the year delay was good, but the year delay also meant that there was revenue we didn't spend in that area.
Is the town of New Carlisle on board with the replacement? And have they approved monies for their part of that investment?
So it is their project of which we would be a partner in. It is still very early in their process. They're working with financial consultants trying to understand what the financial modeling looks like for their project. So at this point in time, we haven't been formally asked to be part of the project financially, but we know that at some point there will be a need. Part of the challenge with the plant now is a capacity issue. And so we're working with them as we do our planning for the core development area on what build out could look like. There's no reason to build a 20 million gallon per day plant if there's only a 15 million gallon per day need in the area. So we're going back, working with some of our consultants, working with the town, trying to right size what a water treatment plant would be, and then figure out what our cost obligation, not only us, the Redevelopment Commission, but also new tenants into the park, what their obligation would be to pay into that larger plant. Do you build it small, build it scalable, or is it a one-time plant project? And so all those things are going to be really a focus of the town in 2021.
Thank you, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Bill, just one other hit on that area. I noticed there was a quality of life project plan or funds were planned for that around the Nespadani ditch. I know Jason's not here, but I know we're always interested in those types of projects. Any ideas you can give us on that one?
So part of the agreement that the Redevelopment Commission and the town and the township is part of that conversation and that agreement that we all signed back several months ago. One of those conditions was leaving parts of the Nespadani in place. And so when we bought the Inland Steel piece of property from Inland Steel at the southwest corner of Edison and Walnut, half of that property is designated as certified forest. And that certified forest sits on the west side of the Nespadani Beach corridor. So we're working with some representatives from the town and also some other groups to look at how we can leave in place the wetlands, leave in place sections of the ditch, or maybe the whole ditch, depending on development designs, but to start building some quality of life elements with that. So whether it's improving the wetland characteristics, whether it's doing some additional tree plantings through that corridor, whether it's doing some interpretation of the natural aspects of the ditch and how it relates to the Kankakee River Basin, all of those are pieces that have been talked about. As you look at the Nespadani ditch, which starts just south of US 20, if you put water into that ditch, ultimately it goes out in the Gulf of Mexico through the Kankakee out to the Mississippi and all the ditch. So there's an opportunity for some interpretation on that. So as we talk about quality of life, there's not only the natural sustainable pieces, but also then some passive recreational aspects that are being talked about as part of that corridor and some of the buffering that could occur along that corridor.
Sounds to me like an RDC kayaking trip is in order from.
I got to tell you, it ought to be on a real wet day because somebody like me isn't going to, it's going to need a lot of water to move my boat. So.
Okay. All right,
Steve
going back up.
Share a boat, by the way. So I've seen Steve in a boat. So Steve and I are going to share a boat.
Other budget-related questions?
Are there any other major changes between the 21 and the 20 budget for the New Carlisle projects, besides what Jessica talked about?
I think the other thing to note is the inclusion of the New Carlisle loop of the broadband expansion. While we have the EDA grant that is funding the 24-mile loop, we have the section that goes through the town to hopefully better provide service through the schools, the libraries, the fire department, that type of thing. That is budgeted for 2021. And then also some continuation of parks, some coordination projects with Bendix Woods. That is a carryover more from 2020 into 2021.
Okay.
And then we had budgeted funds in a more general transportation infrastructure line item. We separated out some of that money into a more specific focus, and that's targeting the State Road 2, Larison Boulevard, Snowberry, kind of the looking at the connector. If US 20 would connect from US 20 to State Road 2, that project is is also into 2021. And that's kind of where the monies are focused.
Going back to the loop project, one of the things I was thinking about is that in this appropriation or this allocation, is the cost related to the last mile included? Meaning, we put the loop in, but what about the connection from the loop to the particular school or the particular business? Is that included in the funds, or will that be required? That would be a cost requirement of the recipient.
So generally that's a recipient or a partner cost, if you will. So, I mean, we put in the fiber, Choice Light manages the fiber, and then that connection piece between point A and point B is usually the responsibility of the private party. But there certainly could be some allocation to last mile connections. That's something that we could have a conversation about. As we get that system built out. I know that we do have some pieces that right away are going to be connected in. So the Navistar Proving Grounds, Bendix Woods are two pieces that automatically are going to be partnered in, and we're trying to plan for locations for connectivity points for that. But last mile for Navistar, for example, wouldn't be a cost that the county would necessarily bear, but it likely will be with Bendix Woods. So as Jessica was talking about Bendix Woods, one of the things that we've been looking at with Bendix Woods and with Navistar, and I was going to touch about this when Chris talked about the fiber project, but one of the big challenges we have on the west side is cell connectivity. So we're working with a cell provider in partnership with Choice Light to look at how we can put a tower out on the west side of the county. And Bendix Woods and Navistar share the highest point in the county. So if you put a tower on the highest point of the county, then you could probably get a pretty good level of service. So there may be some cost, as Jessica was talking about Bendix Woods cost, there may be some cost to extend power and do some site work to get a tower into that site. So those are the kind of connectivity pieces, but we could certainly look at a last mile connection program with the TIF revenue. We got a really good cost for our project. We've got a good partner that's going to work with us on our project to build it. And so that's why we have some extra revenue that's something that we could certainly take a look at.
I think that's going to be real important, not necessarily for the businesses, but for the schools and the public services there. And we need to consider the cost to the actual consumer, because often that can be very prohibitive to a normal homeowner. So let's make sure that's included in there.
Okay.
You hate to have the loop in helping that community and then have the community not be able to afford to plug into it.
Certainly. And we, as we worked with, for example, the town of Lakeville, who has the Choice Light fiber running right down the middle of Main Street, it's how do you get access to the fiber? It's nice to have it, but if you can see it but can't use it, it's not really of value to you. So great point, Tom. We'll certainly take a look at how we partner in that.
All right, thank you.
Just jumping on to what Tom said, one of the things it's not our purpose, but we do a poor job of in any event, is just telling folks, hey, we're putting in the broadband, we're putting $250,000 in the sustainability, et cetera, just a little PR. Maybe the commissioners could do that when it's up and running. Just anything to get a positive word out would be helpful, I think.
Certainly.
Any other comments on budget?
Just one question. The fact that we allocate money to the budget doesn't necessarily require us to spend it, right? So as we can put the money in the budget and approve it today, but the actual allocations, when we get down to spending it, that's a separate vote. Is that true?
When Sir Jessica's going to talk, yeah.
I know. I depending on what all he's asking. So the budget themselves, I mean, we approved a budget, so then the appropriation request is based from that budget. So you vote separately on the actual appropriation allocation. One thing I wanted to point out, if you take a look at the December reports, what we budgeted in 2020, and I was trying to look through, I think in every single area, we did not expend what we budgeted. So we try to, I'll be maybe a little conservative on the budget. So depending on what does happen, and it is kind of fluid throughout the year, what type of projects may pop up, we want to make sure we do have monies in place to be able to capitalize on an opportunity. But if that opportunity does not occur during that year, or maybe project costs are a little less, those funds are returned to the cash balance at the end of the year. And like I said, the December budget report reflects that. The cash balances of the approved budget versus the actual cash balance is very different. They're all higher than what we, in theory, anticipated.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, I always tend to think of the budgets in this case at this time of year as more strategy and commitment documents almost, right? And then individual appropriation for contracts and actual work come down the line.
Right. Thanks for clarifying.
All right, a motion to approve the budget for 2021 for the Redevelopment Commission.
I move to
I'll
approve
make the motion to approve.
Say
I
again,
will
Jessica.
second. I will second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Bill number 3, request to advertise for the appropriation resolution.
Yeah, so now that we've got an approved budget, now we have to actually go through an appropriation process. So what we have to do is we just have to advertise what the appropriations are going to be. And Friday, I had circulated a draft copy of what that appropriation resolution looks like, but it basically breaks down these budget line items into the appropriate budget categories for the county's budget system. What we'll do is present that to you at your February meeting, just ask for your vote for that. Then that will officially put the money into the various accounts so that we can spend it over the course of the year. So I just ask for your approval to advertise for that.
I'm okay with that. My question was, once it's in there and it's appropriate, we still would then vote on the specific allocation. The reason why I say that is there's a lot of money in various special projects, right? You allude to it later, but I don't mind putting it into those buckets. But when we actually go to spend specific projects within that, we still have to vote on that, correct? Or
correct.
not?
Yeah. So all the contracts that we bring to you over the course of the year are out of those specific allocations. So and maybe what we can do is do a better job this next year of saying this is coming out of this allocation or this is coming out of this allocation line. So we could put some of that information in our staff reports that we present to you so that you can see where those budgets track.
So often these categories are just vague, you know, and for an outside person looking at it, it probably drives more questions than answers. So to the extent you can, I would strongly encourage you to provide a little more detail where appropriate on these various things. But that's just me as reading it. You know, if I'm a taxpayer, I don't know what this stuff means. You've got economic development and you have special projects. What's that?
So I can give you a little bit of background on some of the numbers and the accounts. Unfortunately, I don't have a dual screen right now, so I can't jump back and forth. But the special project line items, those are going more for your capital expenditure type projects. So for example, the broadband expansion bid, that comes out of that line item. You know, when we go to expand the new Carlisle Loop, that would fund that project. If we were building a water treatment plant, that would come from that type of a line item. The economic development line item is more for services. So if we have a design of a project, it would more come from the 30,000 series are more services. That's where your legal fees come out of, your financial advisors, that type of thing. We really don't have material accounts or salary accounts, but pretty much they're separated between kind of a service oriented type line item and then a capital expenditure type line item. When we buy property acquisition, that would come out of the special project potentially line item.
Thank you, Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
May I have a motion for the appropriation resolution?
I move to advertise the appropriation resolution or approve the advertising.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. Fiber update, Bill?
Yeah, I'm gonna have Chris cover this. It's been nice to watch the back of Chris's head. It's nice to know that he still has a full head of hair in the back, as opposed to most of the rest of us. Who,
Yeah, that picture wouldn't look like that for you or me.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So the EDA, outside of this, the topics that we talked about a little earlier, our first pre-construction meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday, January 20th, with the contractor. So we'll go over all of the necessary steps that they'll need to do to get this project moving. I did talk with Ryan Clark, the engineer who kind of designed everything from Lockmuir, and most of the kind of outstanding permitting and coordinating is all going to be on the contractor right now. So it sounds like most of the county stuff is taken care of. So that'll be addressed at that pre-con meeting when we talk with them next Wednesday. Additionally, we've had preliminary discussions with ChoiceLight about the residential part of the broadband. So everything with ChoiceLight from this point in the past has been from an industrial commercial standpoint. So most of the customers that we've been looking at for the IEC have all been from the industrial commercial aspect. They do work with a residential provider who can then tap into the line, bring it into neighborhoods. So they're having preliminary discussions about what that looks like. There's a couple of neighborhoods along Timothy where it could be a good pilot program to see if there's interest. So ChoiceLight, along with this Surf Broadband, would go out to the neighborhood, would market and say, would you have interest in participating in getting a line out here? And then the Surf Broadband would then spur off the main line, bring it into the neighborhood. So there's a couple of areas that, you know, we're looking at, especially along Timothy. There's a couple of neighborhoods, and then I know there's a couple of planned neighborhoods in that area as well. So we're having those conversations to understand what the residential side looks like. And then that goes back to Tom's discussion about, you know, are there ways the county can provide a subsidized, you know, connection fee or something along those lines that we can definitely look at with those TIF revenues. So
I just encourage, reiterate that whether a person's going to do it or not do it, it's all going to be dollars and cents. So I think we should get in front of it in terms of how much money we as a commission want to contribute to that to make it economical for those folks.
Yep, absolutely agree. We can definitely look into that. So yeah, at this point, that's kind of the update on then. We anticipate construction to start here in the spring, and from everything I've heard, it's a 3 to 6 month period of construction. So at this point, I anticipate end of construction probably late summer, early fall to get everything into the ground and connected. And that's my update.
Thanks, Chris. Bill, you want to move to the AM General EDA update?
Yeah, I would say that there's no real update for any of the other three areas. Maybe just as it relates to Capitol Avenue, specifically the AM General area, there was some press late in the year about a electric last mile solutions vehicle project, looking at the old SF. I say old, but the SF Motors AM General Motors building. We are working with that company. They are in the process of going through a public offering and getting themselves positioned to make some announcements here probably in February. At this point in time, they haven't made a formal request to the county other than some just basic assistance. So we haven't had any conversations with the company yet about tax abatement or any financial needs. They seem very well positioned. They seem to understand what they're doing in the process and in the project building. So it looks like that project's going to move forward without a lot of county assistance.
Okay.
We should know more in the next couple of weeks. But so that's probably the big announcement in that district to keep track of. And as we get more information, we'll certainly be sharing that with all of you. So
cool.
Other than that, I have no other updates at this time.
So okay, so down to additional business, anything there?
Nope.
And public comment. I can't really see how folks are on, but if there's anyone wishing to make public comment, please state your name and address for the record, and you have a 3-minute limit. I thought we'd get commentary on the kayak expedition. I guess not. Okay. Team down. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hope not. As a reminder, please get your oaths to Jamie at some point this week if you can.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Take it easy, guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.